everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the books I read between January 11th and January 17th. First up is A Spindle Splintered by Alex Iharo, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. This book is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. In this book, we're following Zinnia on her 21st birthday, which is likely the last birthday she will ever see, as she is suffering from a disease that has claimed everyone who has ever had it before they turn 22. She absolutely loves Sleeping Beauty, so her best friend sets her up with the most epic Sleeping Beauty birthday party, complete with spinning wheel. When Zinnia pricks her finger on the spinning wheel, she ends up falling through worlds and comes across a Sleeping Beauty who wants to escape her fate just as much as Zinnia wants to escape her own. So I really enjoyed this book and getting to see Zinnia end up in this different world and meet a character who, for her own completely unique reasons, also would like to escape the fate that the world has set out for her. I like seeing Zinnia struggle with her illness and the idea that her life is going to be coming to an end, and not being ready for that to happen, because I think that would be realistic for most anybody her age. It is interesting seeing her end up in this new land and hoping that maybe in this new land, if there's magic, maybe there is a cure there, and kind of trying to figure out if she can set out to do that while also helping the Sleeping Beauty that she has come across. This was a really quick read. I mean, it's a relatively short book anyways, but it still flew by and I really enjoyed it. And I believe it is the first book in a series. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing what happens in the second book and if Zinnia is in any way involved, or if it's just kind of a fairy tale retelling series that are kind of all kind of grouped together, kind of like the Twisted Tales that follow different fairy tales, but none of the characters kind of cross over. So I will be very curious to see if book 2 has any interaction with any of the characters we met in A Spindle Splintered, or if it's separate. But either way, I really enjoyed this book and plan to continue on with the series. Next up, I read A Light in the Mist by Aaron Hunter, and I gave this book 5 stars. This is the 6th book in the 7th arc of 6 in the Warrior series. If you're new to my channel, Warriors is a series that follows forest cats that live in clans and have to try to coexist. So, this is the book in the Warrior series that made me cry the most. I'm not going to tell you how, why, what happened, anything like that, because spoilers for the entire series, not just this arc. But it is not the book that made me cry the hardest, but I cried multiple times while reading this. The Aarons do such a great job of making you so connected to these characters, and you really, really feel the emotions in this book. This is a very, very emotional one. I absolutely loved this arc. I think this may be one of my favorite Warriors books in the entirety of the series and via all the books I've read, including novellas, mangas, graphic novels, super editions, like regular arcs. Like, I think there is a good chance this is my favorite book in the entirety of the Warrior series. I absolutely adored this book and the emotions that it brought. I love the way this arc wrapped up. It has to be my favorite arc. I mean, arc number 1 is up there because, again, it is the one that started the series. It's the one that introduced us to the world and the characters and made you care about these characters in this world and invested you in this journey that has led you to this arc. But this arc was just so brilliant, and at the end of every single book in this arc, I just couldn't wait to pick up the next book. And despite the fact that I know we're going to be reading with all new characters' points of view in the next arc, this book made me want to pick up the next arc because I know I will see some of the characters I grew attached to in this book in that arc, and I'm curious to see how things are going for them. So I absolutely love this arc. If you're not reading Warriors, I highly recommend you check it out. It is such an amazing, amazing series. I love it. It's my favorite series ever, and I am so excited about what's going to come next because this arc was just so brilliant, and I am sad to be done with it, but also really glad that I got to read it because I just adored it, and I can totally see this book being on my favorite books in a series of 2022 video because this is going to be hard to top. Next up, I read In the Market for Murder by T. Kenzie, and I gave this book 4.25 stars. This book fulfilled the prompt. It is the title for Phase 10, Choosing My TBR. So this is the second book in the Lady Hardcastle mystery series, and this is a historical fiction cozy mystery series where we're following Lady Hardcastle and her lady's maid Flo, and they end up solving mysteries in this quiet village that they have moved to escape that kind of life, because that's the kind of life they were leading prior to moving to the country. In this book, a local man named Spencer ends up dead, face down in his beef and mushroom pie, and it is up to Lady Hardcastle and Flo to determine what happened to him. They have to figure out whether it was a natural death or whether someone poisoned him. Things get even crazier when they have to deal with a random theft, a seance that's gone wrong, and so many suspects for Spencer's murder, but no real clue as to which of them would have been most likely to commit the deed. This book was crazy. There was so much going on because they were essentially dealing with three separate things, which was Spencer's potential murder, a random theft, and then this weird seance. And it was very interesting to see how Lady Hardcastle and Flo balanced those three things. I love this series. The audiobooks are amazing. I love listening to them as I read along. I really like the dynamic between Lady Hardcastle and Flo because they, despite being a lady and her lady's maid, are definitely friends and on equal footing when it comes to solving these crimes, and they definitely have a partnership, and it is interesting to see how people deal with the fact that they are true friends despite one being an employer and one being an employee, and how in the past, because it's historical, that is dealt with because it's not something that was typical of the time period. I was left guessing right up until the end, just like Lady Hardcastle and Flo. I really, really love the series and can't wait to continue it. And lastly, I read The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and I gave this book 4 stars. And I read this book as part of a read-along hosted by Stephanie from Stephanie's Bookverse. In this book, we follow Kunigaru, who is a wily bandit, and Mata Zindu, the son of a former duke who is a fearless fighter. These two become friends as they lead an uprising against the emperor. Once the emperor is overthrown, they lead 2 different factions with very different ideas of how things should be ruled in a post-emperor world. So this book took me a little while to get into because there is so much going on and so many people to keep track of, because there are a lot of names and people thrown at you very, very quickly, and it took me a while to get everybody straight in my head. I started reading it physically and wasn't really into it and was really struggling with it, and then I found the audiobook, and that definitely helped because I'm somebody who really struggles over names when I can't pronounce them, and there is a lot of unfamiliar names and places in this book, so having the audiobook definitely helped me keep up the pace and keep me invested in the story and not spending a good chunk of time stumbling over names and places that I couldn't pronounce. And I'm somebody who literally reads word for word and pronounces everything in my head, so that can definitely slow me down. There's a lot of political maneuvering in this book, so if that's not for you, then this probably isn't the fantasy for you. I really enjoyed getting to see both Kuni and Mata and how they went about dealing with this emperor and the war they found themselves in, and the different views they had of a post-emperor world, and how that kind of created friction between the two of them. I am very intrigued where book 2 goes based on the way book 1 ended, and will definitely be continuing on with the series. I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did, especially with the slow start. I wasn't sure I was going to continue reading it or get all the way through it or continue with the series afterwards, but I definitely am, and I'm glad I gave it a shot and picked it up. So these are some of the books I read between January 11th and January 17th. All of my social media, including my Discord, is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me a candle emoji, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!